Okay, so just one more for some food. I'm just showing this on my laptop as well. Can anyone see one of these lying around? Since I've lost one.
Two.
Yeah, that works. Okay, hang on.
So I'll put my DevOps paperweight down because I've got one. Hey, you've got a DevOps paperweight. So thank you for those of you building the questionnaire online. There's still an opportunity to do it. I brought some analogue copies along, and I'm going to put them underneath my DevOps paperweight so they won't blow away. There we are. Useful piece of kit and technology. So last speech probably of 2016 from London DevOps, and it may be something that you think is a bit boring, return on investment, blah blah, management, etc. In fact, in the survey, a third of you said that you don't get involved in any kind of measurement of your performance at all in your organisation, which is not unusual. For those who don't, have a think about, as I talk, about you're sitting in front of your boss and you're trying to justify your salary and bonus for 2017. Have a think about that. There could be one or two pointers that may help.
Right, ready to go.
Cheers.
So that button moves you on, that button moves you back.
Cool. Perfect.
David Linwood, thank you.
Thank you. So I've had a career break, now looking for work, and during that time I've been completing my master's degree in management from Ashford Business School. I chose to address the subject that certainly I've received a few scars from in my career, which is it's very difficult to actually justify what we do to the business. IT, we're not typically very good at it. A lot of what we talk about is very short term. We talk about the project is in, the project's on time, and that's pretty much it. Into that came this very interesting DevOps phenomenon, which polarises industry opinion, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to try and put both together? So those of you who did the survey remember my little QR code from last time, and there it is again. It's still online, and I'll put it up on London DevOps tomorrow if you want to fill it in. In effect, the results are in, but a bit like when you watch Eurovision Song Contest, we're about 5 votes to go, and the United Kingdom's still got 0 points. We know they're not going to win, but it would be interesting to see if there's any subtle changes. So the research has got two sides to it. The first side to research was, what did DevOps commentators say? So I've read about 80 papers, books, blogs, dating back from about 2009 through to the current day. And what I've looked for is when they talk about measuring performance and how do they measure DevOps performance. There's about 12 common metrics that they mention. There are a lot more, but there are 12 that are mentioned that are more regular than the rest. Those of you who did the questionnaire were given all 24, and they're all jumbled up. But one interesting aspect is what are the viewpoints that people use when they look for metrics? And you're going to see 3. I talk about them, I call them lenses. And then you're going to have done any management theory, know a lot about lenses and how basically a lens is how you perceive the world through your own personal views and opinions. But it's also affected by the organisation that you work for. So for example, these are the business outcome lenses that measure DevOps according to commentators. They want to see fast to market, high quality, stable and satisfied customers. This is the language of the CEO and his board. Okay? It's quantifiable, it's tangible. This slide is actually really good news because these are the most popular metrics selected by DevOps commentators, and they speak to the business. They are business-facing metrics. So despite the industry, or DevOps as a culture being fairly new, the people that you read have got it right. These are the right things to be looking for. So have a think about that, how you speak the language. Now, at the second layer is something I talked about the CIO level, and it's really, what are the ingredients that make something work well? And in there, I mean, we heard about it earlier on. We've heard a lot about collaboration, process, flexibility, engaged and happy teams. Again, very popular metrics quoted. Feels more like a health check. And the other thing to consider is a lot of those are very intangible. How can you measure engagement or flexibility? But this is what the CIO, the chances are this is what the CIO is trying to work out. Because if he didn't get this right, he didn't get an improved team. Now, talking to the team, I call it the team the engine room. Now, the engine room is where we talk a lot about hard metrics. What are we going to actually deliver? And you can see there we've got a number of releases, defects, how quickly we fix things. Very tangible, very numeric. Interesting, those are the 4 most popular metrics quoted, and 3 of those are about when things go wrong. What does that say about us? It's all about fixing broken things, and I'll come back to that later. So, let's talk about you guys. So, who answered the questionnaire? This is slightly out of date data because I've had a handful of responses have come in since I put the slide deck together. But a pretty good split of DevOps understanding, learning experience and familiar. And in the roles you can see we've got, it's predominantly managers and senior tech people, which probably matches the demographic of the audience when I look across the audience here. What I'm interested in, the reason I want more people to fit in the questionnaire is if we've got people who are learning, who are leaders, or senior tech, who may be experienced, that you can see differences in the groups. But the main headline is there's a fair but positive correlation between what the commentators say are most important metrics and what you think are most important metrics. So let's have a quick run through them. So back to the chart again with the CEO view. The number next to the hash is where you rated it out of the 24 metrics that you were given. So as you can see straight away, faster to market and high quality, you agree with that. Interesting enough, lower costs appears as something that you as practitioners think is important. If you read the documents from the commentators, lower cost was in there to begin with in sort of 2013, 2014, and seems to have disappeared off the scene. And those of you who've done the cost, value, time triangle, we've all done it before, you know you can only have 2 of them. I think most people realise that if you're delivering high value systems quickly, you probably can't do it cheaper. So in general, you agree with the CEO level metrics at the CEO level. It's interesting, those of you who are still in non-DevOps environments, satisfied customers is one of the most highest metrics. And I think the difference is probably with the emphasis on DevOps, you're now looking at the actual way that DevOps is produced. So at the CIO level, it's complete chaos, to be honest. At the second one down, improved operational support of products, is something that was listed by commentators as being quite low down, and yet you've rated it very highly. And notice cross-team collaboration and engaged and happy teams, going back to the previous session we just had, you guys don't think it's important, which is quite interesting. So not a very close correlation, but again, we're back to this intangible thing again. And my perception is that you guys are steering away from measurements that are actually difficult to do because they are very hard to measure. It's interesting about engaged and happy teams there. That's one of the least understood metrics. 20% of you said you didn't know what that metric meant, which is quite interesting. So finally, the engine room. And again, speed and cost of actually doing the physical release is something that you're very, very keen on. There's a little bit more synergy there around releases, number of defects. Application performance, response times, that was an interesting one, thanks for that. That comes quite low down on the commentators list. I actually went on holiday and took the first set of results with me just to have a sort of a fiddle around with them, and spent the holiday reading all the white papers again because I couldn't believe that I'd missed application performance in everybody's documents. But if you guys need it, you guys want it, it's not what the commentators I think are talking about. And again, mean time to recovery, MTTR, more than 40% of you felt that metric isn't required or isn't useful. So, just for some fun, for some statistically challenged people, more statistically challenges in the data itself. Leaders tend to understand the metrics better. They're more likely to not say that they don't understand something. Senior technicians amongst you are most likely to reject a metric as not required. Surprisingly, the managers are the group that are most likely to say that they don't understand what a metric actually is. And probably not unsurprisingly, I think the technicians are least likely to reject a metric as not required. So they're the sort of more inexperienced. And possibly they feel that it's important to measure something but haven't considered the effort in order to achieve that. And that shows that the average number of metrics recommended at the bottom there. Leaders is 8, technicians is 14. The average number of commentators was about 9. So the sweet spot seems to be around the 9 to 10. Okay, 3 slides to go, then I'm done. Some food for thought. For DevOps, you're measuring or proposing to measure 45% more metrics than you do in your non-DevOps installations. That may not be a problem, but do consider the infrastructure and the processes and what you're going to do with that data when you get it. In case you end up with something you think, oh my goodness, there's a lot of work we've got to do here. The more intangible metric was, there was a very clear message that you are likely to reject it or state that you did not understand it. And we'll come back to intangibles in a minute. The final thing was something I wasn't actually researching, but came out, and I decided to stick it into the questionnaire. More than half of you don't read IT publications or journals, the formal ones. And the reason you state that is you say you don't have the time. Now, I actually don't think that's a problem with you guys. I think that's the problem with the people who publish them. They haven't actually adopted a much more blog-style, digestible approach. I don't know about, I mean, certainly I had to wade through 50, 60, 5,000, 10,000 word white papers, and that's hard going. So I think there's a message to the industry that if, you know, that this, a difference between formal publication and journal is it's being refereed. In other words, someone's presented something, it's gone to a panel, they've checked it, they've got for every single fact, and it's been approved for publication, as opposed to a blog. Right, got out a graph. Is DevOps a multilingual skill? Well, it is, and I'll take you through this. We're going to be directors for the evening, so we're this blue colour here. And what this is showing is that we have a preference for CEO and CIO-led metrics, and we're interested in manager, but we're not so keen. Now, everybody else, the chart goes in the opposite direction. So, you can probably see where I'm going with this. So, it's pay bonus time, PMR time, you're trying to justify your next DevOps project, and one of your team gets into the lift next to the CEO. And the CEO says, how's it going? And he says, oh, great. Yeah, we're fixing things a lot faster than we used to, and there's less defects. How do you think the CEO is going to take it? Remember, those are metrics that you said were worth having, worth doing. As opposed to, it's a more stable, it's more reliable infrastructure, we've got less problems, and we've got better customer satisfaction from it. In effect, it's the same story, just given through different lenses. And it's back to the thing I was saying to you guys earlier about when you get to your bonuses and your sessions with your bosses. How are you going to frame what you do? And can you frame it in a way that is different from your peers, but is the way that the business understands? Final slide. Yes, measuring operational aspects is easier. The second one really I've just covered, so when the CEO asks how's it going, what language you're going to use. Now, the third and the fourth point really are intertwined, and it's worth just bearing this in mind. Yes, intangibles are challenging, especially when they're strategic in nature. But you need to be able to measure hidden benefits and slow burners in your organisation. When you put a project in, the project managers focus on short-term deliverables. They will debate the fact that a project is on time, is on cost. But that's only 20% of the value of the IT project. The other 80% comes from its use. And these aren't made-up stats, so I can show you the academic papers that back this up. So if you've got 80% of the value of the project is still to come, what are you measuring? And have you thought about the intangibles, such as the team are more engaged, we're getting better customer feedback, we discovered that because of the DevOps methodology, we're now more flexible, we're able to change paths quicker. So just some food for thought. So that's me done. If you haven't done a survey, please do it. I'll put it up on the London DevOps site, and or if you want to do the analog version, come and fit it in a pen. Thank you.
So then we're reading those white papers, so you don't have to. Let me get a question, David. Where's one at the back? Okay, cool.
Thanks. I really enjoyed your perspective on the different views of DevOps within the organisation. It's a bit of a shame that the question I was not, but it's probably a bit of a side point in your paper, but the presentation made. You mentioned that you felt most, or the survey suggested that most people in DevOps don't have enough time to read the formal publications. That confused me a little because I wasn't sure what you meant by the formal publications, and it confused me especially because what tends to come to my mind is that the referees' publications you seem to be referring to are normally behind some sort of pay wall or barrier. Irrespective of what the content is, people probably aren't going to get it from the people working in the industry.
Okay, no, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. So, what I discovered from my own research is that yes, there are plenty of places that will charge you to read academic commentary, but there are plenty of places that you can actually get it for free if you look for it. And I think but what was very interesting is I actually tried to dive into, and I didn't bring the stat with me, but how do people learn? And one of the questions in the document, which anybody who's done the survey, by the way, if you put in a survey, you get all the stats, so you can take it all away and use it for your own benefit. Is that there are many ways that people learn, but I don't think it's so much that they can't read Journal of IT. I think there was certainly a degree of, a lot of people said we weren't aware they existed, is one, certainly. I think your point is interesting. You're right, maybe that's a flaw of the survey. Maybe I should, we don't want to pay for it. So, it's a fair point, could be. But in general, it was purely, we don't have the time. And I think that speaks to another thing, which is, if you've got a 10,000 word document, they all have abstracts. They all, pretty much by law, mine has. I have to write 250 words on what the document's about. And it pretty much tells you the beginning, the middle, and the answer. So it then entices you in. But I think also the refereeing is an interesting thing, because I think the refereeing delays the publication. So something that's really current could take 12 months to come out. I hope that answered.
Awesome. Okay, David. David, thank you very much.